Today I'm making a video on kind of how to actually hit the bag, different ways to actually go about hitting the bag. Typically, this isn't something I really think about people, having trouble with at first, because naturally, I don't even think about back when I first started learning to hit the bag. I kind of just learned it all along the way, but there's definitely a right way to go about it to get the most out of it, and then, other ways. So typically, I like to say, let's break it down a little bit. Real low level. Cameraman, descend. Okay, so a couple different things. I have broken down hitting the bag into really mainly 4 different categories, broad categories. One being different works: rep work, flow work, fight work, and cardio work. Okay, all having their own kind of advantages in different places in your training, and we're gonna get to those in a moment. Some first tips I can kind of throw out there when it comes to hitting the bag is, for example, number one, kind of mistake I see with people starting to learn how to strike is operating way too close to the bag, right? And kind of jamming up all their shots. When you're learning how to punch, one of the hardest things to, I think, really learn and grasp at first is the twisting mechanics of your body, right? Hips need to turn, shoulders need to turn. You got to put all your weight into punches and strikes without getting off balance and such. So starting and hitting the bag close will kind of already make you start developing a bad habit of jamming your punches up, right? You can punch here. You just got to be able to turn into them. So when you're hitting the bag, you want to be getting your full range of it. There's times where you'll maybe slip off and you catch them with a close hook in close, right? There'll be other times where maybe you're lunging into a gazelle hook at distance. But the idea is, when you're first starting to hit the bag, you want to start learning it at your full range, right? I always tell people, if you can stick your hand out, of course, a lot of times I have gloves on, if you can stick your hand out and barely scrape them with the tip of your pointer finger, you can rail them with your backhand. Okay, so I can barely touch them fully extended here. When I turn, my punch is going to go through that area, right? So you can maybe touch the bag, get the range, and then fight out here. Okay, so that's the first thing. While fighting too close, backing it up, and fighting at your range. Second thing is, you don't have to hit the bag with everything you got with every shot. There's gonna be times when you want to do your power shots, but you also want to get used to just throwing maybe 30%. Just kind of throwing, getting targets, hits on the target. Messed it up a little bit there. Because it's cool to be able to hit them hard, but you need to be able to get to where you're trying to hit first. And these light shots will help you kind of catch the rhythm, catch how they're moving, seeing what they're going to do when you do try to punch them. And that'll give you a better way, how to game plan getting in there, right? Third thing is, you don't actually have to make contact with the bag every single time you're trying to hit it, right? I can miss shots to lead into the bag. So maybe I'm a little bit farther away, and I want to jab to slip overhand, right? Maybe, I'm jab duck to slide up into this other stance and catch him with the head kick as I'm imagining him exiting to the left. Maybe he exits to the right, and I can't get and catch him exiting, right? Same with uppercuts. A lot of the people have trouble throwing uppercuts. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Of course, longer uppercuts, you can just punch at the bag. And there's different bags, of course, to work those, but most of the time, this is the type of bag people have available, the most common. It's the cheapest, most of the time. So with the uppercuts, what I like to do is do them right along the bag. That'll also help me get them down where they're coming straight up. So like if someone got to their guard, I'm off to the side, I want that uppercut to be able to come in straight up. Not at an angle, right? If I'm here, I don't want to be throwing it here. I want to be throwing it there. Tight, boom. Okay? Even if I'm mid Bagwork, something like that. Or even missing your cross, if you just see me do. I can miss the cross, slip to set up, practicing that hook on the pullback, right? The next thing I'd like to go over is probably not thinking about the bag being able to hit you back. Like they say, you know, you look good beating up the bag, can't get you back, but I like to always think that it can. I like to imagine I'm actually fighting somebody. There's somebody here holding their hands up, pawing at my hands maybe picking their leg up. I'm imagining that, right? So when I'm going, where was I going with that? Oh, that's what it is. We're going to imagine that it's an opponent, right? So when you're hitting the bag, you don't want to just be willy-nilly doing it all the time, because you're not practicing your defense. Even on the bag, you want to be practicing some type of defense at all times, right? That can help you in sparring, it's going to translate over to everything else you do inside of combat sports, right? So you always, even with drills, want to be practicing an active guard like that, okay? Now, the different types of works, okay? Rep work, typically, not typically, is how I describe it being just rounds, you know, how long you do your rounds. Typically, like if you're gonna be doing, like if you're an amateur fighter, probably doing 3 threes, depending on what type of sport you're doing. Boxing, of course, is gonna be a little bit different. In kickboxing. So I try to do the rounds, the same rounds I'm gonna do, if not slightly longer. Now, as you get closer to the fight, you wanna shorten the rounds to your fight length, if not maybe a little bit shorter, to get used to that higher intensity. But for the bag, not so necessary, just depending on where you're at in training and what you're trying to get out of it. So with rep work, you're just doing rounds of doing the same thing, getting reps. Reps. That could be reps of just a single movement, a single technique, one kick you're trying to get good at, boom, you just do that same kick over and over again in the bag. It could be a combination, so I could be going 1, 2, 3, body kick, 1, 2, 3, body kick, rounds. Okay? You feel, like I said, you're gonna hit the bag every time. If you're trying to get reps of luring them in, faking a high kick, spinning around or something, maybe, you know, I expect them to peel off to the right. I want to be able to catch them on the exit. So I'm not gonna come straight towards the bag because it's not actually gonna move over, right? So I might approach away from the bag, right? If I'm expecting to hit them there, they catch them on the end, okay? Excuse that being a little sloppy. Back work. Rounds, doing the same thing. Over and over, okay? That's gonna be some of the stuff you should always be doing in your training. A lot of the time, probably near the beginning of your training session and then kind of lead into the more intense stuff. Not saying this can't be intense because you want to be a lot of the time doing it hard once you get the movement down slowly. That's rep work. Next work we're going to move on to, probably my most favorite, that's flow work, okay? So with flow work, it's going to be kind of, you're going to be doing this probably the most every time you pull up to a bag. It's where you're going to learn new things, test new things, new patterns of movement, you know. Still want to stay defensively sound, but it's not going to be as intense as when you're doing your like fight rounds, right? So I already got clips of all of these recorded, so I'm not going to go ahead and do it now. But this is when, like I said, new movement patterns, new footworks, new setups on stuff you want to try, right? That's what I describe as flow work, kind of getting in that flow state. This could even be used as like a warm-up round maybe, before you get into your session, maybe do some flow work and do some rep work, or, you know, typically I save cardio work for the end. It's kind of a burnout. But this is a good thing to add into your training. This is kind of how most people should be kind of hitting the bag on the most part. This is gonna be the least amount cardio, like taxing cardio wise. You're not gonna get on the bag and be dying every time doing some flow work like you will these next two works. So moving on to that, because the flow work, there's really not too much to talk about. You kind of see that in the clips. Fight work is where you're gonna be a little bit more intense, a lot more intense actually. You're gonna treat this as if it's the fight itself. You're gonna imagine the bag here as your opponent, and you're gonna be trying to defeat them, right? Take them out. So you're not gonna be doing a whole lot of new things. Intensity is going to be high. You're going to be punching hard when you need to, but not all the time. Like I said, you're choosing your shots. You know, you're not just wailing every single shot like it's the knockout punch. You're setting them up, peppering them, peppering them, peppering them. Boom, good shot, move off. Good defense. This isn't really the round you're trying to mess around too much with. And now this may be something you do more, like increase the amount of rounds you do of fight work closer to the fight. It just depends. Of course, always consult your coach. They're gonna know what's best for you. I'm just some random guy that likes to fight. Now, moving into cardio work. Cardio work is gonna be, like it sounds, it's gonna be where you're getting your cardio rounds in. Now, it ain't always gonna be the prettiest. It don't gotta be pretty. It's really just to get good muscle endurance, get you punching when you're tired. Like I said, that's why I like kind of as a burnout round, because at the end of the round, you know, you're already dead and you finish with these. It's kind of a mental exercise as well as, you know, a muscle exercise. A lot of the time, it's big looping punches, big wide hooks to the bag. You're just trying to keep punching nonstop, still keeping rotation as best as you can. You get that core workout in there. But it's just non-stop action, okay? You're gonna be in the bag space the whole time, going for the whole round. Now, depending at where you're at in fight camp, you might wanna, like, you know, shorten it up to smaller rounds, be more intense, just depending on what else you have in that session for that night, of course. Definitely, this is almost, I would say, cardio work is what I see, or is what I consider seeing newer people do. Is they just get on there and it's like a mix of fight work and cardio work. They're just on there going at it like it's a real person, but they're not actually improving any. They're just doing the same old stuff wrong, but at a higher intensity, right? So that's where the rep work's important, and the flow work. That's where you're gonna get the actual technique down at, and then you can take that, move it into your fight and cardio work to actually, you know, set it in stone in your heart and your soul. You know, when you're tired and you're still doing it right, you probably got the move pretty down. So these are just some tips I wanted to kind of throw in there for everybody that might be getting new into striking. Because there's not a whole lot of stuff out there from guys that aren't pro fighters. You know, you go so long, I feel like, training as a professional, maybe sometimes you forget about some things or don't look at it in a certain perspective. So I hope you got something out of this video. There's of course different types of bags. You use different bags for different things, but this is the most common bag. I feel like, I mean, I learned how to strike off a bag like this, you know. So if you like this video and want some more videos like this, for sure, drop a like on it, maybe a comment what you want to see. I kind of just got to think about things to make videos on. You know, I've heard recently about people having trouble hitting the bag, so I thought this might be a good video to put out. Hope y'all enjoy it. Thank you. What people will do is like not follow the bag, or like move with the bag, right? So they'll kind of just like, which this is good, you know, if you're meaning to like working close or something, but ideally you want to be like moving with the bag, right? This is how your footwork. This is footwork, setting up your shots, really feeling shots dig in. So if he's like, I'm moving. catch him in that split moment where that weight's coming back to me. Same with an opponent. You sense him coming in, you're bouncing with him. As he comes in, that's when you sink it in. It'll feel the same.